Hello, welcome to another one of my CV2 tutorials. Today we're gonna go over Gizmos V2. And to find them, we just go into our little pen here, go to Gadgets, Gizmos, and we have Piston V2 and Rotator V2. So we're gonna go over these first and then the additional things. And at the end you will know exactly what you're doing with these two. So, if you've been working with CV1 before, so the Gizmos, then you won't have any problems with these, because these are just like the first ones, but better. So why better? Because, for example, the speed, the max distance can be altered while using them, instead of only being able to configure them and set it for forever, pretty much, unless you change it again with your configure tool on CV1. CV2 makes it all dynamic, so you can change it and use it at the same time. So if you don't really know what I'm talking about, if we take the normal CV1 Gizmo, for example, and we configure it, we have the acceleration time here and max travel distance. This is what I'm talking about. Max travel distance can only be altered by configuring your gadget, but on the V2 you can set the max distance immediately and keep on changing it if you need to. But we're here for CV2 and not CV1. So, this is going to be a short video because there is not much to talk about. So, let's go over the Piston V2 first. So, move this over here, and let's look at this. So, Piston V2. The play pretty much makes the Gizmo start. Stop makes it stop, and reverse just makes it go into the opposite direction it would originally go to. For example, we could play the Gizmo, we'd stop it halfway, and then we'd reverse it and it'll just go down again. No, you can't make it go down more than this because this is already at the minimum. So if you, for example, want to go up and down, you'd go play to the max and then reverse down here. You have two more things. We have speed and max distance. Speed is basically how fast the Gizmo is gonna go, and the max distance, how far it can go. Now, the thing you've noticed from earlier, there's no acceleration. Why? Because you can make acceleration on your own by altering the speed with other circuits. So, on the right side, we have play, which means that these three will always activate when the left side of them activates, which means that if we activate play, this play right here will send out a signal if we need it for something else. So we'll do stop and reverse, then we have finished. Finish is basically when our piston reaches its destination. And distance pretty much tells us what point on this line, the max distance, it's currently on. So if we stop it halfway, check the distance, and that's it. So I'm gonna show you that in a second, but let's just go over the rotator so we have all the basic things over with. So, Rotator V2. Play, stop, reverse, the same thing as piston. Just, it's a rotator, so it just rotates. So, speed, how fast it'll rotate. And play, activates with this, blah, blah, blah. That's it. That's pretty much it. The rotator doesn't have much to talk about. Neither does the piston. So I'm gonna just show you the piston in action, and then you'll 100% know what to do with the rotator as well, because these two are not hard at all, because they're as easy as CV1 or maybe easier. It depends on how you look at it. So what we're gonna do, we are gonna, I don't know, let's grab two buttons. Two buttons. We're gonna have one button to check our distance and one button to move our piston. So what I'm gonna do is hook these two up. Basically, when I'm gonna hold it, it will, play. It'll start moving, but when I'm gonna release the button, it'll just stop it. So after that, we are going to send the distance to a 2-string chip, which will turn our number into text. Hook that up. Oh, hook that up. And then we're gonna use show notification again, so it just displayed on screen. There we go. And when we click this button, we'll show that. Let's make that smaller. There. Let's turn. There. Okay. So, hold it, release it, so it's at a certain point on our max distance. We click the button, and we see what distance it's currently on. So you can go farther. There you go. Basically, the distance is extremely accurate. And you could use, of course, other chips to make it just an integer, but it's 2-string in case we need the extra little details for any circuitries, because sometimes it is good to have those decimal space, like let's say 0.015. That's sometimes important, depends on what you're going for. So, if this video helped you, if the explanations were clear enough, I hope you can put these to good use. If you have any questions, put them down in the description below, or contact me on Discord. I'll leave my Discord in the description as well. So, at the end of the recording, I realized that I forgot to completely show you all the additional options you can have with pistons and rotators, because that's why they have identifier pins here, because you can hook them up to other things. So, let's spawn those in. So we have piston get acceleration, piston get distance, piston get marker distance, get max distance, get speed, piston set acceleration, piston set distance, piston set marker distance, and piston set max distance. We're gonna look at these. Oh, piston set speed as well. There you go. So let's go over these. So, if you remember earlier, let me just get this out of the way. I was telling you that basically you can set acceleration yourself with speed, which is technically true. You can do that. But if you want it better, you can, of course, set the acceleration from this. So you can just tell it to work with, this piston, you tell it what the acceleration is and activate it. So let's say if we set acceleration to 3 here, right, on the piston set acceleration, and we use the piston get acceleration, we tell it, look at this one, and it'll output 3 because we set it to 3 and it stays at 3. So those are just the acceleration. So next up we have piston set distance and get distance. So I don't need to explain the get distance anymore because whatever we set in here can be output here if we need it. The set distance basically gives us the power to manually set where this is going to be. For example, let's hook up this button to the set distance. We tell the set distance which piston to work with, and let's edit the value to 2. Click OK. Then, now we just click it. There you go. It's up there now because we set its distance to 2. Now keep in mind that the get distance here, right? Wait, let me bring this down with this chip again. There, click it. So just to keep in mind, the get distance is basically the same as this one. It's just external. Next up, let's get the set speed and set max distance. There we go. So the set max distance is basically the same as this. And the get max distance, of course, just tells us what the max distance is. Now this is useful sometimes because you don't have an output here, so you just have to do that. Set speed, basically this. And it's also useful if you want to get the speed. Now the marker distance I have not found any use for yet. Maybe I'm just missing something, but in general, when you set it, it is technically set, and you can just get it from this chip. And the regular marker distance is always 5 on pistons. So if basically when you start them, when you don't set anything, it's 5, and it always also sets itself back to 5. So pretty much what I'm guessing is the marker distance is a marker here. But I don't think there's any use for this yet. But I could be entirely wrong, which you're free to correct me in the comments below. But yeah, this is now this is the end of the piston tutorial. I totally forgot to do the second part, but now we did it, and you know what the external ones do now.